Alright, so now we've got our marks for our hinges. Basically, the way I like to do it is turn the hinge upside down, put that on the marks there, and that's the height for your hinges. We'll do the same on the bottom hinge. Not a bad idea just to square those across. Then you want to measure the width of the hinge, or mark out the width of the hinge. Okay, so I've marked the height of the hinges. Now I need to mark the width of the hinges. Basically what I'm going to use is a mortise gauge, which is, it's got a sliding face on it there, and basically a nail, a sharper point here. You want to set that to the width of just one of the sides of the hinge. So don't worry about the knuckle, we just go on the actual plate and we set the nail to the point there. Tighten that off. Now you can just do this by measuring if you don't have a mortise gauge. They are a handy tool if you don't have one. Just remember also we want to do this from the face where the knuckle is going to sit. So make sure that's facing the way that in the direction of the swinging door. If you put it on the wrong side, your door won't work. So we just want to run that gauge along between those two lines. I like to, once I've made the groove with the nail, I like to put a pencil mark in there, make it even easier to see. That's now size for the hinge, and we do exactly the same with the depth of the hinge. Again, you can just measure this, or you can use a mortise gauge if you have one, and that's just a matter of putting that nail to the thickness of the hinge. Again, just running it along where we're going to chisel out, like that. And just for the camera's sake, I will put a pencil mark in there as well. And you can see, I'll just use a chisel to chisel all of that out now. And now the fun bit, chiseling out for the hinge. Always use a very sharp chisel. Be careful, they're dangerous, but if you have a blunt chisel, this will be much harder. So you will need a really lovely sharp chisel. The idea is just to go a fraction in from your end mark. Because the chisel is beveled, as you hit it in, it tends to move across. So if you start in skinnier than the hinge, you can also always chisel more out. If you start right on your mark, and that chisel does creep across even just half a mil, it can make the hinge loose. It won't affect the operation of the door, it just won't look as nice. So we want to start in a fraction of a millimetre. Nice solid tap. And my chisel isn't quite as wide as the hinge, so I'll do 2 across on the width. Your first 2 are when you're going to the line is when you've got to be your most accurate. So again, just in a fraction, and just in a fraction. I like to chisel across the edge here. You have to be a little bit careful because you are very close to this edge of the door. And if I hit too hard, I will simply blast the back of this door out and I'll wreck the door. So on this one, we only just give it a very small tap, because if we go too deep in one hit, we will break the door. I use this more as a guide for the chisel. Again, if you've got nice sharp chisels, that will make the world of difference. I use this just as a guide for the chisel when I'm doing the bulking bit, which flip the chisel around the other way so the bevel now is facing down, and start hitting towards. I'm doing it on two widths, one nice and close to this edge, and the other one nice and close to that cut that I just put in there. So do that up the entire length. Now, when you've been doing this for a while, you'll get the hang of chiseling down to the correct depth. If not, basically the way I do it, or the way you can do it, is just, I'm doing it now, is you chisel down. I'll go all the way along, but then we chisel across. So in this case, I haven't quite gone down to the right depth, but that's fine because we're not in any rush. We just chisel across like that, and this is where these first set of marks are important. We're now chiseling towards those and following these bigger chisel marks that we're making here. So that's just the theory of that one. Nice, good taps there. Nice and close to the cut. If you're doing it quickly, you don't need to go too close to the cut line. This cut line along here, that's okay, because when we chisel out, we can do that again. I can't stress enough, have a nice sharp chisel, because all of this is made much easier with a nice sharp chisel. So you can see all my down cuts there. Now I'm just, with the thumb, applying pressure there, and then just using the sharpness of the chisel to slice these chunks out. They shouldn't be, if you chisel in there, they shouldn't be too hard to remove. You shouldn't really have to reef it. If you do, either your chisel's blunt or you're not hitting in far enough. And again, that's where it becomes dangerous for chiseling this back bit out, for blasting this back bit out. So just nice, easy strokes with the chisel. Again, good sharp chisel. You'll probably find this is the most technical bit about fitting a door, is just letting the hinges in. Try to avoid running your fingers in there. It's a natural habit when you do it, you go like that, but that's where you get splinters. Okay, we're just going to see how we're going now. That's going in fairly nicely. It looks like it's pretty good all around. I've just got a little bit more, you can't really see, but I've got a little bit more to take off the surface, off the outside face here, because it's just slightly, it's pretty much flush there, but it's under there. So we just test it as we go. Okay, so we've checked out the hinge in the door. We're now setting out to check out the hinge in the jamb. You can see here we've already had a previous hinge. We're just going off the same area there. The important measurement for us is from the edge of the hinge to the edge of the rebate must match the edge of the hinge to the edge of the door. So whatever and I'll show you in a moment, whatever that measurement from the edge here to the face of the door needs to be the same as from that distance to that distance. Then when we close the door, that'll swing, the door will fit nice and snugly against it. Okay, so the measurement I'm talking about is the same measurement from the edge of the hinge there to the face of the door. I'll measure it exactly in a moment. Looks like it's about 4 millimeters across there, so we need to ensure that the edge of this one is 4 millimeters, or maybe even 5, will allow a bit of clearance, that edge is 5 millimeters away from the rebate, so when the door closes, this surface will finish flush against the rebate of the door and look lovely and neat. Okay, so you can see here, just for example, I've pre-drilled the two end ones. Again, these screws are fairly big because the door is fairly heavy. If we use big screws on the edge of a door, you may split it, so it's always a good idea to pre-drill. And you can see how lovely and easy that goes in. So we've got our hinges screwed to the door. They've been checked in. I've set the door in position so we can get the right height, mark the right height for the hinges on the jamb. The door won't close properly whilst the hinges have not been checked into the jamb, because it will make it too wide. So that's why you can see it sitting out here. This is only purely and simply to mark the height of the hinges. So we've marked the height of those hinges. We want to get that depth there from the face of the door to the edge of the hinge, which is about 4 mil. We'll make the same measurement here. We'll come out maybe a mil extra just to allow a little bit of clearance. So the face of our door finishes up nice and flush against the rebate, which is this part here. As you can see, I'm replacing an existing door, so there's already a hinge here. So we've marked it, we've set it out so the hinge will actually go in the same situation, same position, that way we don't have to fill this later on. Checked out the hinges. I've got the door in situ, and just to make it easier to talk to the camera, I've already put a screw in the top and bottom hinge. Quite often putting the door in, it is helpful to have two people. If not, I've used the wedges here again just to space it correctly. So we'll just do the same as last time. We'll pre-drill the screws and screw the door into place, and we'll see how well it fits. So this measurement here, and this measurement here I was talking about before, and when you get it nice and accurate, that's the kind of result you get there. You can see it's got a little bit of clearance for when the customer paints the door, it won't jam up, and that's just a nice finish there.